Well, thank you all for being here. I want to open with a word of prayer, including a word of prayer for John Pershing, who was supposed to be here presenting this morning. And John is in Omaha. He's got a surgery scheduled on Wednesday, the 13th, for liver cancer. And so he had to go out there ahead of his scheduled surgery and was not able to do this. And so I would ask that we be praying for John and Kathy and for all who love him and for his medical team as well. So we'll open with a word of prayer, and then I'll turn things over to Dr. Koozer to get started. Gracious and loving God, what a gift you have given us with this church, this place that we call home. What a gift you have given us with this church family. You have surrounded us with people who love us and people who are loved by us. Thank you for your love being such a central part of what it means to be this community of faith. This morning, we send love to John Pershing and to his family as they prepare for his surgery on Wednesday. God, give them peace and comfort, and may your healing power work through the hands of the doctors, nurses, and technicians that will be working on John in the days and weeks ahead. We also give you thanks for the legacy of those who have come before us. Every wall in this church was erected by a gift of love that was given to this church. And so as we think about what our legacy might be as a church family, and what our legacy individually might be, God, we ask that your spirit be present here among us. A spirit of wisdom, spirit of truth, spirit of understanding, a spirit of joy, and a spirit of love. Let it be your love that leads us in all things. It's in Christ's holy and loving name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And I'm going to shut the doors, because we're going to be blessed by the sound of the chamber orchestra warming up for some amazing music that we're going to experience this morning.
And I would be remiss before I started, if I didn't mention at 3 o'clock today, you're going to get a sampling of this during church today. But at 3 o'clock, the choir and the instrumentalists are presenting the Foray Requiem. It's about an hour in length, and it'll be from 3 to 4, but it's very unique in the fact that it's a staged presentation. Brett has brought a friend of his from Pennsylvania that has staged this work, and it's in the anniversary of Foray's 100th anniversary of his death. It actually was earlier this week, that commemorative date. It's pretty special and very unique, and I've been around for a long time. It's probably one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. So I'd encourage you to come and see it and listen to it. It would be a beautiful afternoon, I'm sure. As Greg mentioned, I'm kind of a substitute here today, and I am also very thankful for some things that have preceded this morning. Last week, Dan Deffenbaugh presented a forum on the history and rationale and theological meaning of cremation. And we looked at that perspective from we looked at that through a variety of perspectives, historical, different faiths and cultures, and it just really was quite interesting. So I'd encourage you to go online if you haven't seen that. It is available to us on our website and so and the YouTube page. So I would certainly encourage any of you that have an interest to do that. Lastly, John put this together. So I'm going to try to figure out John's thinking. We talked over the phone. I was going to open with, thing like people are dying to be here today, but that's tasteless, Ann said, and you have a burning desire to learn more, that's probably tasteless. So anyway, we'll just move on. And let me go ahead and read this because the print is smaller. As we go along, I don't think we'll have a problem with the print. An enduring memorial for Christians, how we are remembered in death says much about our beliefs in life. Simple, dignified arrangements that bear witness to hope in the resurrection can also provide comfort for those who we leave behind. First Presbyterian Church will construct a prayer garden columbarium and memorial wall as another method of interment or recognition for deceased persons with a connection to the church. To the church, comma, guests and future attendees. Now, you notice that space in there, that's just because of a cut and paste error. There's no other reason, and we didn't know how to fix it, so, okay, moving forward. Again, a presentation that John put together, and let me talk very quickly about the members of this committee that was formed to investigate possibilities of all of this. Jane Bauer, Barb Harrington, Hal Johnson, Janet Johnson, Robin Koozer, Bill Odom, Kathy Reimer, Steve Wolford, and John Perman. And the names with asterisks, people were on a long-range planning committee that several years ago looked at the possibility of a columbarium here as a part of a long-range plan. The history behind this project, as I mentioned, there was a long-range planning committee that was formed in 2008 and worked through 2009 that explored the building of a columbarium. Actually, I believe their recommendation at that time was the possibility of looking at what is now used as the nursery during church services and having an interior room designated for the columbarium, and which did not have the momentum to move forward. In November of 23, about a year ago, Cal and Jane Johnson discussed the possibility of this, I believe, with John and Gray. And John put together a presentation and talked with people from the Long Range Planning Committee, meeting with the session on March of this year to request permission to form a committee. And the people that I mentioned earlier were named to that committee. We met first on April 24th to talk about the possibility. On September 19th, we made a formal presentation to the session and planning session with our plans and the funding request. On October 8th, it was presented to the trustees, and we've let bids on October 1st and received the bids for this project already. We are looking at this project as kind of multi-purpose. Number one, it takes an area that is a beautiful area in the church, but has deteriorated and actually will be reused and repurposed for this. It's a time that this needs to happen, because if we don't do something, we're going to have to do replacement of a lot of this area. And so it'll put an empty space really to purpose. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done in there. So we'll move forward. Example, the concrete work in the walkway, and the doors. The doors haven't been refinished and will need to be redone on both ends. This is the door that takes you into the education wing, I believe. And of course, then opposite of that is the door that takes you into the chapel area, and they're all in need. And the concrete is going to have to be replaced. There are water issues and whatnot. So again, that kind of gives you a different perspective of what's going on in there. The landscaping that was in place has overgrown or been removed. And so it needs to be taken care of also. And then, as you can see, the middle area where there was a fountain and seating, again, the concrete is cracked and split and sunk. There's just a lot of things that don't look quite Presbyterian in there. Okay. Again, another view, this would be looking from the courtyard towards the chapel. So you see that. The chapel and all of the brickwork has been point cut. And so that has been taken care of, and we're fortunate that has already taken place. And then looking west, you see the education wing. And I want to point out right now, I'm so excited to have a real laser. These big areas here of open space, we'll be talking about utilization of that also this morning. And then from the south looking north towards 7th Street, that kind of gives you that perspective. Now, right down this way, of course, this way, right behind me, we have the ramp that takes us to the lower level from this level of the church to the Christian Ed wing. Also, this needs some repair and to be brought up to code. So this will give us an opportunity to do that as a part of this project. These are some things that are facing the trustees in the future, but can be worked into this to kill two birds with one stone, if you will. And finally, this is what we are proposing. This is the view from 7th Street. The existing windows in the Christian Ed will be matched. We will fill from the outside view from 7th Street. These will be stained glass that match. We will have a glass door here. No, I'm sorry. This will be open and a gate that exists back. I'm going to go all the way back to slide 5. Okay. This gate will be moved to the center. The sidewalk from 7th Street will come in here. And then this, and this will be stained glass. From the inside, this will be clear glass. This will be clear glass. This will be stained glass. And this will be a double glass door, so you can enter from there. So we'd be looking at 4 stained glass. Total of 4 stained glass. Now, the look from outside on 7th Street, you'll see stained glass in this, but this will be open, but you'll see stained glass through. So really the columbarium is, if you're sitting in the car looking this way, yeah, you'll see into the columbarium. But from straight on, you won't be able to see into the columbarium from the street. And again, this is open, which gives you access here. On the inside, we have glass at the inside. And initially, the committee thought of keeping the stained glass in there also. But we thought the clear glass might be beneficial if we were in rain or something, people could still stay in and view the internment service from there and stay dry if they didn't want to go outside. This is an overhead view, and this would be looking down from the park side. But you see now, this is the ramp back here from on the inside, and it would now have a door to the outside at the far west end of the ramp. And that would open out for another ramp, which will take you into the Fair Garden columbarium. So basically, there's an exit here, exit here, exit here, and exit here. These all meet fire code. That's part of the issue. You have to have that many exits for that many people in a certain area. And this will, although this will be handicapped accessible, this allows handicapped accessibility from the church. One of the things that I would point out also, the chapel, if you have a small service here, you walk directly into the courtyard for an interment. If you have a chapel service in the sanctuary, you just go right through there also, or back down through here. So this is very accessible from where we have memorial and funeral services. The actual columbarium and prayer garden will be structured like this. There are two crypt holders that each have niches. Now, this is terminology, okay? The big thing is called the crypt. The individual boxes are called the niches, and these are the urns. Okay, so I'll show that in a little while, but there's a little terminology involved. So this is a crypt. There are two of those in the initial plan. Within the crypt are the niches. And within the niches are the urns. So you enter through the open outside or here. You go through double glass doors here or here onto concrete. And then this is a paver stone, decorative stone in the middle with benches. And then you can access that obviously from the ramp entrance off the church or either here. Now, remember, I asked you to remember this big space. This is an additional piece of the project. It's a memorial wall. And we realize that there are a lot of the saints that are already buried somewhere else that have been made a very large impact here at Hastings First Presbyterian Church and need to be memorialized. And so we're adding a memorial wall for that. If you have a parent or a spouse or somebody that is buried or somewhere else that you want them to be recognized, you have an opportunity to do that also. Ashes are not a part of that. This is just a name recognition. If there are questions, I'll take them at the end. That's all right. This is a close-up of the crypt. And there are two different, there we go. There are two different sizes of niches. You'll see that in the center, there is a larger size. And on either side of the center, there are smaller. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say the committee did a lot of investigative work to bring this to this point. Different churches that have these, Lincoln, Omaha, Hastings, Grand Island, two different places in Arizona, Martha and Bill Boyd reported, and well, oh, Jerry and Mary Seiler went scavenger hunting for us, and not only did we get pictures of different columbariums to look at and consider, but we also got policies, which is a very important aspect, and contractual agreements and those kinds of things. So the committee worked hard to bring this to this point today. These are some variety of different options that companies have provided and churches have provided for us. So there are probably as many options as you could probably think of. Some have incorporated sidewalk and ground bricks that have engraving on them. Some are, there's one out at Parkview Cemetery, for instance, that is an octagon, I think, or 6-sided or 8-sided. Many of them, some are inside, these are outside. You can see there's different styles of different places. I even got some in New Orleans that are pretty cool. This is the newest of the crypts at Parkview Cemetery. It's in the back of the cemetery. This is from the entrance crypt that as you drive into Parkview. And then it talks about the decorations. And we'll talk a little bit about the committee's thinking on the decorations. This happens to be the Grace Methodist here in Hastings. Their crypt is built against the wall and stands against the wall. And then right beside it, they have their memorial plaque. Would be very similar to what we're considering. Okay, the actual plot plan itself, I kind of described that through the pictures, but this gives you the schematic of that. Thanks to Steve for his work on all of these pictures and diagrams. And if there are any questions, don't ask Robin about this. Okay, ask Steve about this kind of stuff, or give Cal a call. This probably shows a little bit more of what you might be interested in, however. What we're proposing is phase one. And phase one puts in the two crypts here. Phase two for future planning provides space here, and the footings can be made with very little disruption to the rest of the property here. And then phase three, which I don't think any of us will be around to see if it comes to fruition. But it provides for two more spaces. So each of these would be in this project, future, future, future. Now, each of these will have 160 niches. Is that right?
No,
No.
there will be 160 in phase one. So
160 in phase one. I'm sorry, 80 and 80. 80 and 80. Phase two will have 80 and 80. Phase three. Same.
They're double sided.
Yeah, they're double sided. These are just one sided. These are double sided. So the faces are available here. And then, if needed, these could be altered in size, larger. These could be larger too. The next thing is the landscaping, and what we're looking at, and primarily for reflection time and prayer garden, this would be grass, concrete, benches, a small table with chairs, additional benches. This would be, again, remember the ramp that takes you down, and a flagpole with the American flag here. Hopefully that talks about that. And then within this area, there are plantings and some greenery and blooming bushes and things like that. So there'll be year-round greenery in there. Yeah, did I say everything about that? All right. Okay. The cost estimates. The entire project is estimated at $305,000 approximately. 20% contingency is going to be built into that, so our total cost is $366,000. That includes the demolition and the replacement of the broken walkway, all the concrete in the center being taken out, putting in a new drainage system, and then also security camera and locks. And let me explain that very quickly. The Columbarium will be open during the church regular hours, but it will be closed when the church is not open. But if you purchase a niche, you will be given a combination to the lock. So people that have a niche or ownership of the niche, their families will have access to enter because they'll have their own code into the entrance. Also, it'll be open on holidays such as Memorial Day, Easter weekend, those kind of things. How will this project be financed? Currently.
You turned off the projector.
Sorry. Can I do it? Turn it back on? Hey.
It has to cool down and then cycle back on, so you're gonna need to just talk.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to slide. Currently in the financing of this, we have $110,000 already in hand, which is 30% of the cost estimate. The session has given approval because we had that in hand to go ahead and start the project. The committee requested a balance of $195,000 to $256,000 to be advanced by the session, and the session unanimously approved that plan and added actually a $10,000 amount to that because they wanted to be sure that the doors, all of the doors, were handicap accessible. So we only had one door, and now all of the doors into the project will be handicap accessible. And then the money that's been advanced by the session will be repaid to the session as the niches are sold and we receive additional donations. So basically, the session voted to give a loan to this project, to loan money to make this project happen. And then we'll receive payment in return after as we sell. The niches I mentioned are two different sizes. There are 40 niches that will be 12 by 12. And remember, all of these niches, no matter what the size, hold 2 of the urns. 12 by 12 or 8 by 8. And when those are all sold, that will have generated $358,000, which will more than pay and give us additional money for the future maintenance and I know, I'm sorry. And it seems the pointer, the laser's red, that's why I keep hitting that button thinking it's red, but Bob Serby can teach me this educational method. Okay, and how the niches will be priced. One 12 by 12 or 8 by 8 niche will accommodate 1 or 2 urns, and the urn will be provided. Now I'm going to pass this around. Do not put the lid on the urn because it never comes off once it's on, okay? So I put this bubble wrap in there, but the urn, in addition to the granite being engraved, the urn is also engraved with the name of the ash supplier. Okay, that also includes the inscription on the urn and the niche covering. The actual stone that will be used is mahogany polished finish is the name of the stone. And I'm gonna pass that out. It'll be red brick that matches the crypt will be red brick that matches the church. We've been able to find brick that matches. And this will be what is the engraving will go on this. Give you a sample of that. This will also cover your investment will also cover maintenance and beautification of the prayer garden and on Columbarium ongoing. It provides for the cost of opening and closing the niche and the maintenance of the Columbarium directory in the church office, and also the maintenance of the Columbarium Trust Fund. And that is the ongoing fund that will maintain, just like it says, the Columbarium as far as maintenance and decor. There are three different options as far as paying or buying a niche. Payment in full, a 3-year payment plan, or a 5-year payment plan. And you may select your niche location when the church has received the full payment. And you do have your option of choosing your space when it's available. Once someone else has chosen that space, you can't share.
Share.
The niche price for 2 urns, the total cost is $3,750 for the 12 by 12. For one person in a 12 by 12, it is $3,275. For 8 by 8 with 2 people, it is $3,150. And for one person in the 8 by 8, it is $2,775. Now, this middle information talks about how that's broken down. Because this goes into a fund and is part of the church donation, the 2,800, 2,800, 2,400, and 2,400 is a contribution. And then the 950 pays for the urns and the inscription, the 475, the urn inscription, 750 urn inscription, 375. The total cost reflects those 3 different things. Okay. The contribution, as I understand it, is tax deductible because it's going to church. Is that right, Jane?
Correct.
Okay. So the investment is over here. You'll call it an investment. The distribution of those funds is in the middle. And the payment options, the 3-year is $1,300 a year. That's just broken down. We'll have this in print for you in just a minute. The memorial wall. The purpose of the memorial wall is to allow for the memorialization of those persons who have had a connection relationship with First Presbyterian Church. Eligibility in the same manner for the niche interment. And again, we have information that will provide all of that for you, some written documents. There are 90 lines of inscription available on the memorial wall, and it would just contain names: Robin and Ann Koozer, John and John, Jane and John Doe, or just John Doe. It's $150 for the plate itself, which is also the matching granite, and then the cost of the inscription is around $150. And I can tell you that engraving is only going to be going up. So if you invest in this project now, it's probably going to be less than later. And adjustments will be made to all of this on a 3-year basis. One of the things I don't think John has mentioned in here, there will be a Columbarium Prayer Garden Committee that will oversee this and have representation. I believe it's not finalized, but I believe from all 3 boards, the trustees, the deacons, and the elders, and a couple members at large, and then the pastors.
And I think the memorial committee.
And yes, the memorial committee will also be represented on that. Thank you, Kate. Okay, I found this very interesting, and this information was provided to John by Mike Butler. And this is the sidebar here. In Hastings last year, the 3 mortuaries, DeWitt, Hatfield, and Butler Baldwin, 68% of the burials, the funerals, memorial services were cremations in Hastings, Nebraska. So Mike said about 10 years ago, it was less than 50%. So you can see this has become a more popular way to dispense or disperse of ashes. Anyway, basically, if you cost comparison, a typical funeral is approximately $25,000, almost $26,000. A total niche investment is $12,900 for two people. So husband, wife, that's kind of cost. And it says that if there are any questions, niche pre-sales are now available. Additional donations towards construction are always welcome. For further information, contact John Pershing or any of the committee members. First Presbyterian office is where you would buy your future planning, and the church website will also eventually have information available. So bring this one up, and are there any, I'm sure there are questions, but let's go ahead. Frequently asked questions, we have this document, so Chuck, may I impose on you? And then a really nice brochure was designed by Idea Bank for this, and please take any. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious about the cost of the stained glass windows.
That's a part of it. I can. Do we have that? Steve, do you have that broken down? The cost of the window.
Yeah, it's in that budget, it's in that budget.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is, I believe, in the packet, Mary, but
So window package number one's 40,
yeah,
and the other one's 42, so one of them is 40, yeah, it's, the stained glass is $40,000 in the middle there.
yeah. The entire columbarium and windows, number 2 and 3, window package 1, window package 2. It's a total of $80,000 for all of them.
For all.
It's $80,000. And they're heavy. I mean, I can snap that too. All leaded. Matches for educating. Which from the outside, I think will be just beautiful. With the backline. Any other questions? I'm happy to try to answer those. Yes, Chuck.
Looking closely to see if it's answered here, and I don't see it. So, there was a mention of the Columbarium Trust Fund.
Yes.
How is that financed and who holds it?
Greg, can you help me on this, just to be sure?
So the trust fund will be financed by people purchasing niches. A portion of every niche purchase will go towards the trust fund. This is required by law, so that in the event that the church had to close and remove the columbarium, there would be funds available in order to do that. And so a portion, I think, $300 or $400 of every niche purchase goes into a trust fund that will be held by the church in perpetuity. And I mean, we'll probably invest it because the cost of moving a columbarium is only going to go up. Not that that hopefully will ever need to happen, but we're required by law to do that so that if that were to happen, we would have the funds available to move the cremains.
What body of the church holds it?
I don't know that it would probably go to the foundation. I would suspect once that fund is built up enough, we would move it over to the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Other questions?
I was curious, I spilled my coffee on my shirt, so I was cleaning my shirt for part of the presentation. What's your timeline?
We actually, the bids have been received and we're ready to move forward fall of 25.
Yeah, we've got construction plans for the winter, in some of the interior spaces. And then, in the summer and by fall, we will have set the crypts and the niches will be available. So that's the plan.
You know, the one thing I did mention is that we're working with a very reliable and well recommended, strongly recommended company in Ohio by the name of IKHOF. EIKHOF, if you want to go online and see any of their other niches around the United States, you're more than welcome to. I mean, it's really the leading company that does this work, so. Yes,
It would probably be worth saying, so that you're all aware, the tile in this hallway. Tony has that scheduled to be removed during the Thanksgiving week. So that's gonna look pretty ugly for a couple months. If people protest, we'll close the hallway off and have to go around. I think it's still gonna be accessible, it's just gonna be concrete.
We're gonna
And
put
then-
something down there.
And then Carmichael's was the low bidder, and they plan on starting right after the first year in the hall. So there will be construction starting on that ramp right after the first year.
And I think this financing thing is important for, if people ask you questions about this. We were given a couple of very generous gifts as seed money for this. And then the session is loaning money to the project, but the only people paying for this project are the generous gifts we were given and then the people who buy niches. And that's why this was not part of the capital campaign, because there are folks who wouldn't have anything to do with the Columbarium and wouldn't want their capital campaign funds going towards the Columbarium. It's also not part of the church's annual budget or part of our facilities budget. This is entirely funded by the folks who are purchasing niches as well as those very generous seed gifts that we were given towards this project. And so if people come to you and say, well, I'm not happy about my money going towards this Columbarium project, you can let them rest assured that no, your money's not going towards this Columbarium project. It's only the folks who are actually buying niches that will fund this project. I've heard a couple of people express some concern about that. So if you can share that message for me and carry that message out, if anyone expresses that to you, just say, no, the way that this is financed, it's no church funds are going towards this. It was that initial seed gift, and then it will be the niches. And yes, the session is functionally loaning money to the project, but it will be paid back. And so there's really not church money going towards this.
yes,
First of all, I think that's beautiful. That's gonna be a really, really lovely project. You alluded to decoration requirements or prohibitions or.
mhm. And is there anything in the packet about that? Basically, we are going to provide flowers that will be there seasonally. And we are discouraging things hanging on, okay, this is gonna sound awful, but if you go to Parkview, it just really is not an attractive situation.
That's,
Yeah,
yeah, and so we'll have a policy that, like the week after we do an interment, the family can choose to decorate, and then we will take that down, and then we as a church will do standardized decorations at different seasons and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that we don't end up with.
Including Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, I think our discussion, and correct me if I'm wrong, committee, but we would allow it to be in, we'll have an area in front of the memorial wall for memorial decorations and Memorial Day decorations. Plus, we will have appropriate wreaths for Memorial Day, probably Veterans Day, those kinds of things that the church will provide. And then seasonal things as far as some Christmas wreaths and things like that. The policy I believe that we decided on was the church will, after 3 days, the church will remove the flowers that are left from a memorial or an interment.
And we celebrated All Saints Day here and, last week, as a matter of fact. A lot has happened in a week. I envision potentially having, weather permitting, an All Saints Day service out there, perhaps the same afternoon that we do at church. And so that folks who have loved ones remains out there, if they wanted to come to the church that afternoon, we would light candles or have a prayer service out there as part of All Saints Day, that sort of thing. And then also this idea of a prayer garden. I mean, this will be a space that anyone can go out there and use when the weather's nice. And I envision it being a space that, yeah, people can go out and use. Currently, it's a space that's not utilized much. The only time in my 7.5 years that I've been here, that we've utilized that space was immediately following COVID. We used it for outdoor choir rehearsals. But other than that, that space has not been utilized in the 7.5 years that I've been here. So I think this is a good, meaningful use of a beautiful space in our church.
And one of the reasons we double glassed the entryway or was for soundproofing. Because the street traffic, the traffic sound noise, will be lessened because of the double panel. Bill? Chuck? Oh, Bill?
Well, I just wanted to make sure, I'm not sure where we ended up with, because this was an item that was very late in the discussion process. When we do the engraving, as I remember, we were going to allow if you're in the Army or the Navy and you wanted that A logo inscribed.
And actually, what we have checked is ECOF has those in stock, a catalog of them. You can have a special one designed. For instance, somebody said, well, I'd like to have Hastings College emblem up there with me. Go figure. And we might have done that. Anyway, they will make that available. And any of those are an additional cost. But they have PEO, they have DFW. You can have one per name if it fits. I mean, have a very, very long name.
They're one of those crazy hyphenated last names.
Yeah. McDonald McGillicuddy. Yes.
The question is answered on the statements here. Is the scattering of remains available? No.
No,
Is that a church policy?
in the state of
Is that
Nebraska,
a state of
that is a law in Nebraska. People still break law.
Yeah.
But that is a law.
In regards to the grass and the lawnmower, I assume will have to come through the glass double doors each time.
Yeah,
Correct, yeah. We won't be able to bring a riding mower in there, and really with the landscaping, the space wouldn't be big enough to necessitate a riding mower. And so there will be a push mower that goes in there and mows that. We have a mowing service, Nemo, that we use, and they actually all currently mow that, but they would add that and ensure that was kept up.
and there already is a sprinkling system in there, lawn sprinkling system. Yes,
It's a really good plan. I was curious if, going forward, some of the things that you might want to ask for memorial donations, if someone is looking for a memorial, is the cost of the benches or the cost of one window or some things like that. Because I'd like to see the benches be the nicer, granite or marble. I don't like the looks of those in there. They just look more like a park bench.
I
and
think
less
those
like
are,
a
I think
holy.
those are just drawings to show benches. I don't know that any of that's been decided yet,
Sure.
but. Yes,
My understanding that you don't have to use that urn, but you have to use an urn and
it,
fit in the niche.
right, that, I believe that's what the policy said. The urn is provided, however, that is part of the cost. So, if you choose to use it, but you can provide your own urn, but it has to meet the dimensions in the standard. Mike Butler tells a story that there were urns that showed up that didn't fit into the creche or into the niche, and so there was a real problem. So anyway, but we want to be sure the right dimension.
Yeah,
larger size would give a little more flexibility.
yeah, I've done internments out at Parkview. Where there is a standardized niche where people can have a custom niche, and so, for example, Tom Krieger did a glass blow niche for a family. And as long as it fits within the dimensions, that would be something that would be permissible. But we want to make sure that we get those dimensions right before we do it, just to ensure that it will fit.
And committee, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we decide that once you purchase the niche, what goes in, and you could put like your dog with you if you wanted to? Didn't we decide that? Because some people will ask that question. Yeah, once you own it, you can fill it as you see fit.
However, you can't,
You can't,
that's name on.
right, yeah, pet will not be named.
Koozer means.
There are a lot of things that were discussed, believe me. Anything else? Then in fine John Pershing fashion, thank you.
Thank you.